To talk more about it, Jim Gilmore is former U.S. ambassador to the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe and the 68th governor of Virginia. And Amir Fkhrar is the Senate chairman for the nation Iranian Congress. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So with plenty of protesters outside, Iran's new president spoke to the UN General Assembly for the first time, signaling he wants to open what's being called a constructive chapter in his country's international relations, but is looking to other countries, including the U.S., to do their part. What is he talking about, Jim? Because the thing is Iran is supporting many of these terrorist groups and actually not really coming to the table and accepting a ceasefire deal, moving toward some form of peace.
Well, I think you have to look and see exactly what the intentions of the Iranians is going to be. Up to this point, I think they have been relentlessly pursuing a nuclear weapon. The president said in his speech that we will not allow them to have a nuclear weapon. But if they're determined to get one, then I think that makes a very difficult political decision for the next president. And also, let's face it, as you say, the proof is what we're actually seeing, which is a direct military confrontation going on between Hezbollah and Hamas simultaneously at the same time. The president has really called for a two-state solution, but the Israelis, I think, have already got evidence of what happens if they have a hostile country on their border, and it cost them 1,200 people on the attack by Hamas. So I think that, look, in terms of the big picture of that speech, I think that a president needs to rally the United States population for the confrontation that is ahead of us. I think it's going to be a big challenge. We need to rebuild our industrial base. We need to prepare for the multi-front situation that's going on in the world if we're going to stand up for not only America's position in the world, but democracy across the world.
Mm-hmm. Well, Governor Gilmore, we have that exact clip of President Biden having this to say about Iran during his address at the United Nations yesterday.
Progress toward peace will put us in a stronger position to deal with the ongoing threat posed by Iran. Together, we must deny oxygen to its terrorist proxies, which have called for more October 7th and ensure that Iran will never, ever obtain a nuclear weapon.
Amir, what do you make of President Biden's comments with respect to Iran obtaining nuclear weapons?
That's completely nonsense, because they are saying something, it's just a word, and they are doing other things. We remember during the Obama-Biden administration how exactly the same person gave Iranian regime $150 billion reward to come to the table. And that Iranian regime used that money to create more chaos with the terrorists all around the Middle East and around the world, and continue its very dangerous nuclear program to achieve the nuclear bomb. And that policy of appeasement from Obama, Biden, Harris administration during last 16 years, because they didn't let President Trump to breathe. Every time he could breathe in his 4 years in office, he killed Qasem Soleimani, the head of terrorist organization in the world, and he sanctioned the Iranian regime, which worked very well. And then Biden came up to destroy all of that and appease to Iranian regime. As Senator Sullivan mentioned, it's a quote from him: Iran, the Islamic regime of Iran, is an agent of chaos everywhere. And this administration has appeased Iran in every sphere. That's true. It should be end.
You know, Jim, as both of you pointed out, Iran is actually the backers of Hamas and Hezbollah, Houthis, and so forth. But Iran is actually engaging into cyber warfare with regard to hacking into emails to influence our elections. So they're actually trying or executing their strategy from their point of view in a myriad of different ways. So as we gear up, moving in hard power, so to speak, preparing for conflict. So what are the options on the table? Is it just going back to the simple run-of-the-mill in terms of sanctions and things of that nature? What's on the table? What's in our toolkit to bring about some type of end to avoid a full-blown war?
American strength. The whole idea that we've been living under for years is to try to deter people who have interests contrary to the United States. Deterrence is failing. And I want to broaden the aperture. First of all, hybrid warfare means that it's not just military warfare, but it's cyber, it's economics, it's sanctions, it's messaging, most of all. And that's why the UN speech was important, because it was a message from the United States to the world. And I don't believe that it was strong enough. I think that the United States has to project exactly the strength that we have to offer, that we're going to have to display. And it's not just in the Middle East. The real war here is a European war. If Europe becomes neutralized or less friendly to the United States in the years ahead, that's a threat to the United States. And don't forget the Pacific. There's no reason why the United States should be pushed out of the Pacific. And yet that is the long-term plan, I think, of China, and they're executing on it in the Philippines and other places. The point is this: the President of the United States has to rally the people of the United States, who at this point are distracted by inflation, by the border, by these other crises that have been left unsolved, and in fact created by President Biden on the inflationary side. These are places where the American people are being distracted from the real threat to this country that is underway now worldwide. It means we have to prepare, we have to be resolute, we have to provide strength, and at that point, that's our only chance for the future.
Mm-hmm. Well, Amir, I'm experiencing a massive disconnect because here, just yesterday, we had the U.S. Secret Service protecting the president of Iran as he gave his speech condemning Israel. And President Trump is literally being threatened by Iran, just yesterday releasing a statement about how the Trump campaign has been briefed earlier today by the Office of DNI regarding real and specific threats from Iran to assassinate him in an effort to destabilize and sow chaos in the United States. How is this possible, as well as the fact that could this be considered an act of war? I mean, I don't want to sound, overly intense about this, but literally a country is threatening to assassinate our leading candidate right now.
I agree with you. We don't need to send troops to start a war in Iran, because 98% of the country, they hate the regime of mullahs in power in Iran. 98% of Iranians. All surveys shows that. This is the same regime that 2 years ago killed Mahsa Amini and thousands of protesters, the beautiful, brave, and young protesters in 500 cities, and then they are still welcomed at the United Nations. You know what? 80 years after the creation of United Nations, definitely this institution needs some huge changes, because it cannot be like this, to give podium to all the terrorists who are killing their own people, all the dictators, to come to the United Nations and have fun in New York and just do shopping with their families and lecture the free world about morality and about peace. That's wrong. Enough is enough. And hopefully, in the next term of President Trump, it will be some type of plan for United Nations. And when the Islamic regime of Iran, I don't want to use it Iranian president, because he's not elected by Iranian people. He's selected by the regime. And when he says, oh, we want peace in the world, yeah, they are lying, because they are afraid to death when they have seen how capable Israeli army is to destroy the Hezbollah's network and to destroy the head of Hamas, to kill head of Hamas in Tehran. Regime is afraid right now, and they are playing victim part.
Jim, let's go to another part of the world that's on fire. That's in Russia and Ukraine. Zelensky also spoke at the UN with regard to how he sees the Russia-Ukraine war. He stated to those who were in the session, Russia can only be forced into peace. And he also outlined the fact that Russia is attacking Ukrainian energy systems, the nuclear plants, and so forth. So he doesn't see an end in sight unless more force, more power is actually brings Russia to the table to try to negotiate some type of deal. What do you actually interpret those words to mean? Is Zelensky trying to actually bring in more not just asking for money, but actually bring in more forces from other nations to try to actually force Russia to comply?
Yes. And I think that the evidence shows that the people in Europe, the countries in Europe, are resolved. We're seeing that in country after country sending the aid that's going to be necessary to protect them. The problem we've got is we're faltering here in the United States. Now, I think that more aid is going to be sent for the moment. But the key is this: if we're sending a message that it's going to be doled out a little by little by little, and that you can't, the people in Ukraine can't resolve this in a forcible way and to their benefit, then it's that sooner or later the Russians will prevail. But Russia right now is in trouble. They're losing a lot of people. I don't know that they can sustain their side of the war either. I think Putin was wrong to invade as long as the West remains resolved. The question is there a message of resolution from the United States and the West that they will support Ukraine? Once Putin believes that that is going to be a continuing war for him, his Vietnam, then at that point, I think that he has to fold. But we're not there right now because the United States is not sending a message of resolution. And look, I think the next president has to be a strong person. I think President Trump is that strong person. And I think he's going to win. But no matter who wins, the United States has got to project its national leadership, its worldwide leadership, and its strength, a strong leader. And that's what we have to have.
True.
Amir, 30 seconds. Just going back to your expertise on Iran, Donald Trump also his campaign released a statement saying terror regimes in Iran love the weakness of Kamala Harris. What do you make of that?
Oh, he is 100% right. As Governor Gilmore mentioned, we definitely need a strong leader. And you know what? When Biden said, oh, yeah, the withdrawal of Afghanistan, he had to do that. No, he shouldn't do that because U.S. troops never left Japan, never left South Korea, never left Europe, never left France, Germany. And those people, they are happy with it. They love United States. And the U.S. troops should stay in Afghanistan, should stay in Iraq. And the U.S. Army should help the Israeli army to destroy all IRGC facilities inside Iran. We don't need to send troops in Iran. U.S. has the allies inside Iran, the Iranian people, but the IRGC should be destroyed, and once for all, the peace will come to the Middle East and to the world.
Well, Governor Jim Gilmore, Amir Fakhravar, thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning to you and to your viewers.
Great.